Part 1, The Slave Who Defied a Queen. The Weight of Chains. The air in the Nexus Empire's capital was thick with the metallic scent of ionized particles, a constant reminder of the alien technology that towered over the enslaved humans. Marcus Reed knelt in the dirt of the engineering bay, his wrists raw from the energy cuffs that bound him. Around him, hundreds of other humans toiled under the watchful gaze of their four-eyed overseers. The Nexus Empire had conquered Earth with laughable ease, their superior technology rendering humanity's defenses obsolete in mere hours. Now, the survivors served as laborers, their ingenuity reduced to repairing the very machines that had enslaved them. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow, his fingers brushing against the neural interface of a broken quantum stabilizer. The device was beyond anything human engineers had ever dreamed of, self-regulating, nearly indestructible, and capable of powering an entire warship. Yet, as his calloused fingers traced its circuits, he saw something the aliens had missed. A queen's contempt. A shadow fell over him as Empress Nyrax descended from her hovering platform, her violet scales shimmering under the artificial light. Unlike the crimson-skinned warriors of her kind, her royal lineage was marked by her deep violet hue and the intricate golden crest that adorned her brow. She regarded Marcus with cold amusement, her upper pair of eyes blinking in slow succession, a sign of disdain among her species. "You fascinate me, human," she said, her voice carrying the harmonic resonance of the Nexus elite. "You cling to your primitive tools, yet you dare to touch our technology." Marcus didn't look up. "Someone has to fix it when it breaks." A ripple of laughter spread through the alien overseers. Nyrax's scales darkened in irritation. "Your arrogance is amusing. Your species barely mastered crude combustion engines before we arrived. You are nothing but clever apes." Marcus finally met her gaze, his dark eyes steady. "Funny thing about apes, Your Majesty. They adapt." The first spark of defiance. That night, in the dim glow of a stolen holographic display, Marcus gathered a small group of trusted prisoners, former engineers, soldiers, and scientists. The Nexus had underestimated them, assuming their lack of advanced technology meant a lack of intelligence. But Marcus had spent months studying their systems, and he had found a weakness. "Their quantum cores," he whispered, projecting a flickering schematic. "They're efficient, but they have a flaw. Under extreme stress, the containment field destabilizes." One of the men, a former aerospace engineer named Kale, frowned. "You're talking about overloading them. But we don't have access to the control systems." Marcus smirked. "We don't need to. We just need to make them think their own tech is failing." The test. The next day, Marcus was assigned to repair a damaged stabilizer on a Nexus patrol ship. As he worked, he subtly rerouted a secondary power conduit, creating a feedback loop that wouldn't trigger their diagnostics. The aliens watched, but they didn't see what he was really doing. When the ship lifted off for its routine patrol, Marcus and the others held their breath. Then, boom! A brilliant blue explosion lit up the sky as the ship's core ruptured mid-flight, raining debris over the capital. Alarms blared, and Nexus soldiers scrambled in confusion. Marcus allowed himself a small, grim smile. The rebellion had begun. Part 2, The Fracture in the Empire's Armor. The Empire's Blind Rage. The skies over the Nexus capital burned crimson as wreckage from the destroyed patrol ship rained down. Empress Nyrax's voice thundered through the palace halls, her scales flashing violent shades of indigo, a sign of unrestrained fury. "Find the defect," she roared at her trembling engineers. "I want every human in that work camp interrogated." But the Empire's diagnostics revealed nothing. No system failures. No sabotage. Just unfortunate instability in the quantum matrix. The engineers bowed their elongated heads, afraid to admit the truth, their perfect technology had failed. Marcus watched from the shadows, his face streaked with grime and sweat. The explosion had bought them time, but now the guards were watching them closer than ever. A dangerous opportunity. That night, beneath the flickering glow of a failing containment field, Marcus gathered his inner circle. Kale, the former aerospace engineer, rubbed his bruised wrists, the aftermath of a routine interrogation. "They're scared," Marcus whispered. "They don't understand how we did it, and that terrifies them." "We got lucky," muttered Lyra, a wiry ex-military hacker. "Next time, they'll scan everything." Marcus smirked. "Then we don't give them a next time. We go bigger." He pulled up a stolen schematic, the Nexus Empire's planetary defense grid. A network of orbital cannons, shield generators, and drone swarms, all controlled from a single command hub, the Spire. "That's suicide," Kale breathed. "No," Marcus corrected. "That's leverage. The infiltration." 3 nights later, Marcus and Lyra slipped into the maintenance tunnels beneath the Spire. The Nexus relied too much on automation, their security systems ignored small power fluctuations, assuming them to be routine maintenance. A flaw in their arrogance. Lyra spliced into a data conduit, her makeshift neural interface flickering. "I'm in." Their entire network runs on quantum encryption, but... Her eyes widened. "Oh, you beautiful, arrogant idiots." "What?" Marcus hissed. "They never changed the default admin codes. It's like they never thought anyone would try." Marcus grinned. "Humans always try. The trap is set." Deep in the Spire's core, they planted their weapon, a corrupted data packet disguised as a routine update. Once activated, it would force the defense grid to reroute all power into a single overload sequence. But they needed a distraction. "The labor revolt starts tomorrow," Marcus said. "When the guards move to suppress it, we trigger the hack." The Empire's mistake. At dawn, the humans rioted. Not with weapons, with chaos. They jammed machinery, flooded coolant lines, and set fires in non-critical sectors. The Nexus guards, trained for combat, not sabotage, panicked. As alarms blared, Marcus sent the signal. The Spire's lights flickered. The orbital cannons powered down. The shield over the capital stuttered, and for the first time in centuries, the Nexus Empire was vulnerable. Empress Nyrax stared at the failing systems in disbelief. This is impossible." Marcus's voice crackled over every comm channel in the city. "You should have studied human history, Your Majesty. We invented impossible." The fracture spreads. Across the planet, Nexus forces scrambled. Ships lost power. Drones fell from the sky. And in the chaos, the humans disappeared, into the tunnels, the ruins, the places the Empire had long ignored. The cracks in their armor were no longer hidden. And Marcus Reed was just getting started. Part 4, The Doom Tide Rises. A weapon of galactic annihilation. The stolen Nexus warship Vengeance shuddered as it broke atmosphere, its stolen systems protesting under human hands. Marcus gripped the command console, watching the tactical display as the massive orbital construct known as the Doom Tide powered up in high orbit. "They weren't bluffing," Kale whispered, staring at the holographic projection. The weapon resembled a monstrous metal flower, its petals unfolding to reveal a pulsating core that glowed like a dying star. "That thing could crack Earth in half." Lyra's fingers flew across the navigation controls. "We've got maybe 30 minutes before it's fully charged. The entire human resistance is down there." "Then we disable it before it fires," Marcus interrupted. His eyes locked onto the schematics. "Look here, the power regulator. It's the same flawed design as their other cores, just scaled up. The impossible plan." The rebels stared at him like he'd gone mad. "You want to board the Doom Tide?" a young mechanic named Rin choked out. "That's suicide." Marcus activated the stolen Shadow Talon armor stacked in the corner. "Not if we look like we belong." He tossed a helmet to Lyra. We sneak in disguised as their elite troops, plant overload charges at the regulator, and get out before it blows. Kale grabbed his arm. And if they scan your vitals? Human biology is already handled, Lyra said, holding up a neural scrambler. Stole this from a Talon's gear. Makes our brainwaves mimic theirs for about 20 minutes. After that. She shrugged. We better be gone. Infiltration. The Vengeance docked with the Doom Tide under false clearance codes. Marcus and Lyra, now clad in stolen Talon armor, marched down the boarding ramp like they owned the station. Nexus engineers scurried past, too preoccupied with final weapon checks to question two more black-armored enforcers. Marcus's HUD flickered with translated alien text. Primary ignition sequence, 82% complete. We need to move, Lyra whispered through the helmet comm. They descended into the reactor chamber, where the massive quantum regulator thrummed like a living thing. Marcus planted the first charge. Halt. A true Shadow Talon stood in the doorway, its head tilting in suspicion. You are not on the duty roster. Marcus didn't hesitate. He fired his stolen plasma pistol point-blank into the Talon's visor. The alien collapsed, but the shot triggered alarms. Red alert, intruders detected. The Empress arrives. Nyrax's holographic form materialized above the reactor controls, her violet scales dark with fury. I knew you would come, Tinkerer. The projection's eyes locked onto Marcus. Did you truly think I wouldn't guard my greatest weapon? The station shuddered as blast doors sealed throughout the Doom Tide. You've trapped yourself, Nyrax hissed. Now watch as your species dies. Primary ignition sequence, 94% complete. Adapt or die. Lyra frantically rerouted systems. She's locked us in. The overload charges won't. Marcus ripped off his helmet, sweat dripping down his face. Then we do it manually. He sprinted to the regulator's access panel. I need direct contact with the core. That's a death sentence. Lyra screamed. Only if I touch it wrong. Marcus plunged his bare hands into the reactor's control matrix. Electricity arced up his arms as he physically rewired the failsafes. His skin blistered. Warning, core stabilization failing. The Doom Tide trembled violently. Nyrax's hologram flickered. What have you done? Marcus grinned through the pain. Made your weapon human. The tide turns. With a sound like the universe tearing apart, the Doom Tide's core went critical, but instead of firing downward, the energy imploded. The station began collapsing in on itself. Go. Marcus shoved Lyra toward the escape pods. She hesitated. What about? I'll hold them off. He grabbed a fallen Talon's plasma rifle. Tell Earth, tell them we fought back. As Lyra's pod launched, Marcus turned to face the squad of Nexus warriors storming the chamber. Behind them, Nyrax's enraged scream echoed through the disintegrating station. He raised the rifle. Let's see how your empire handles losing. Aftermath. From the surface, the humans watched as the Doom Tide erupted in a silent explosion, its debris scattering across the atmosphere like falling stars. The Nexus Empire's grip on the planet faltered. And somewhere in the wreckage, a legend was born. Part 3, The Rise of the Forgotten. A name whispered in the dark. The underground tunnels beneath the Nexus capital hummed with nervous energy. Marcus wiped grease from his hands as the flickering holodisplay cast shadows across the faces of the rebels gathered around him. Maps of the city, stolen Nexus tech, and makeshift weapons littered the makeshift war table. They're calling you the Tinkerer now, Lyra said, her fingers dancing across a stolen data pad. The whole slave quarter is talking. Even the other alien prisoners have heard. Marcus didn't smile. Good. We need them afraid. Kale leaned forward. Afraid? They're furious. Nyrax has doubled patrols. They're scanning every piece of tech before it goes into service. Then we don't use their tech, Marcus said simply. The Shadow Talons move. Empress Nyrax stood at the edge of her throne room's observation platform, her violet scales dark with fury. Below her, 3 figures knelt, elite hunters clad in armor that seemed to drink in the light. The Shadow Talons, her personal executioners. Find this tinkerer, she hissed. Bring him to me alive. I want to peel the defiance from his mind myself. The lead Talon tilted its faceless helm. And the other humans? Nyrax's claws flexed. Burn their nests. Let them see what happens to those who defy the Nexus. The first hunt. Marcus felt it before he saw it, a shift in the air, a wrongness. He grabbed Lyra and yanked her behind a crumbling wall just as a black-clad figure dropped silently from the ceiling. The Shadow Talon moved like liquid darkness, its plasma blade slicing through the spot where Marcus's head had been seconds before. Run! Marcus barked, shoving Lyra toward the tunnels. He snatched a broken pipe and swung. The Talon caught it effortlessly, and crushed the metal in its grip. Marcus barely dodged the next strike, rolling behind a shattered console. His heart pounded. These weren't just soldiers. They were predators. The trap reversed. The Talon advanced, then froze as a high-pitched whine filled the air. Its armor convulsed, systems overloading. Behind it, Kale stood with a jury-rigged EMP emitter, his hands shaking. They're shielded against pulses, he stammered. But not against this frequency. The Talon collapsed, twitching. Marcus didn't hesitate. He ripped off its helmet, and recoiled. Beneath was no alien face, but a nightmare of cybernetics and exposed muscle. They're not Nexus. They're modified. Lyra paled. They're using other species as hunting dogs. The Tinkerer's Gambit. Marcus studied the disabled Talon's armor. They track by heat and movement. But look, he pointed to a secondary sensor array. They ignore anything with a Nexus energy signature. Kale's eyes widened. You're not saying. We steal their armor, Marcus finished. And we turn their hunters against them. The underground strikes back. 2 nights later, a squad of Shadow Talons marched through the slave quarters, scanning for rebels. The humans cowered, until the lead Talon suddenly turned its blade on its own squad. Chaos erupted. By the time Nexus reinforcements arrived, they found only corpses, and a message scorched into the wall. Hunt us, and we'll hunt you back. Nyrax's wrath ignites. The Empress stared at the security feed, her claws digging into her throne's armrests. For the first time, something like fear flickered in her primary eyes. This human, he learns too quickly. She turned to her advisors. Ready the doom tide. The room went still. Empress, that weapon is forbidden. I will erase their entire species from history, Nyrax snarled. Let the galaxies see what happens when insects bite a god. Marcus's warning. Deep in the ruins, Marcus studied the stolen Talon armor. Then his blood ran cold. Lyra pulled up a decrypted file. Marcus, they're bringing something online. Something big. The screen flickered with schematics of a weapon capable of cracking a planet's core. Marcus stood. Then we don't have days. We have hours.